22 days to Christmas Day. If you're waiting for the end of the year, you only have 28 days to 2026. Karibu sana. This is the Morning Cafe. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. Today being the 4th of December, 2025. A very nice, bright December morning right here on Morning Cafe. We have a lot to discuss, and I'll be telling you, even giving you some gifts later on, so do stand by for that. Let's take a look at the dailies today. And hey, today they're a bit jumbled up. So the Daily Nation has decided to go with this one. How opposition lost Malava and Mbeere North. Interestingly, today we're going to be having a very good panel. Wilson Sosion will be here. Remember, alikuwa amesema maneno kadhaa ambapo tutajua alimaanisha nini. The other paper we're looking at is the People Daily today, and it talks about why Rutonomics is choking Kenyans' future. That's the People Daily. Matters economy. Another Kenyan paper here, some politics here on Taifa Leo. Gachagua atikisa upinzani. Alisema mambo ya Nairobi anaelewa zaidi. Something totally different, and this is probably a story that should have been told, but most of the dailies have steered away from this one. Mijiwe, dead or alive, is a question there on the front page of the Standard. And you've seen the trend over the past 2-3 weeks. Immediately after the by-elections of November 27th, the Standard does not touch any political headline on the front page. Don't ask me why. The editors there know better. The Star, I will not work for you, Rigiji tells opposition. Now this is a second paper that has the former deputy president on the front page. Matters business. Right here, People Daily State set for 245 billion shillings windfall from the sale of Safaricom stake. So these are some of the headlines we'll be looking at in a short while. For now, let's cross over and take a look at what is big in Uganda. We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies in a short while. On the Daily Monitor, military court back in action. Wow. Court-martial. Civilians are once again set to face trial before military courts after President Museveni appointed a new 10-member panel to reconstitute the General Court-Martial. The story is on pages 4 and 5 of this paper. Remember, this has been a bone of contention, especially following the arrest and detention of opposition leader Kizza Besigye in Uganda. He was presented before a military court. This was challenged before the Supreme Court. There have been quite a number of pronouncements on the legality of presenting civilians before a military court in Uganda. There's been a lull because there were vacancies in that court. But now Museveni, the president, has appointed a new 10-member panel to reconstitute the General Court-Martial. They're led here by Brigadier General Richard Tukachungurwa, Colonel Raphael Mugisha, Colonel Simon Wakandaya, Colonel Frederick Kagwamu, and Major Dennis Chemtai. Now, these are just members of the panel that will reconstitute the General Court-Martial. Remember, it's been more than a year since Kizza Besigye was put in detention. I don't think they're talking about him much. Matters campaigns in Uganda still dominate the front pages, and you can see a sea of yellow here, of course. The NRM colors, Museveni completing an Ankole trail. He was in the Banyankole region for his campaigns yesterday. Those are the stories on the front page of the Daily Monitor. The other paper from Uganda is this one, which has used the same picture of President Yoweri Museveni campaigning in Nyankole. Uganda is richer than ever before, he said, and he's seen there in that typical yellow shirt, alongside other supporters as he continues with his campaign. But the main story on the front page of the New Vision is about power and vandalism of power lines. So they say power line gangs prime suspect held, security raids 2 steel companies in Buikwe and Mukono, and so at least the security agencies are getting to the crux of the matter in as far as the vandalism of electricity lines. Of course, they've reserved space here at the corner for the other presidential candidates. Apachino Semachagulani promises separation of powers, Muntu to resolve land rows. So yes, even as they look at other issues, matters campaigns still continue. Let's go to Tanzania and we take a look at the Citizen in Tanzania. The Citizen talks about a December 9 plot. It's a question. Police say they have the plans. Now, Tanzania is facing a critical week as security agencies intensify surveillance and preventive measures ahead of December 9 in response to what they describe as a coordinated plan by groups mobilizing for indefinite demonstrations. December 9th will be when? Today is 4th, so sometime next week, aimed at crippling the nation. So just like happened in Kenya, when protests began last year, and they kept on saying, okay, fine, after June 25th, kuna sabasaba, kuna nyingine. Now in Tanzania, after what happened on October 29th, there's December 9. Lakini polisi wanasema tuko tayari, according to this paper. Other stories here, fuel prices projected to fall in Tanzania further into 2026 as global supply softens. I don't know if this will happen in Kenya, but at least in Tanzania, it is there on the front page. Why traditional shop house investment is becoming a costly mistake. These are just some of the business-related headlines inside the Citizen here. Paliju Mwigulu, respect private sector, its engine for economic growth. Let's take a look at the other paper in Tanzania that's, and I'm struggling to look for it. Oh, it's here. Yes. Gazeti la Mwananchi kule Bongo wanasema kimbembe cha usafiri mikoani, matters transportation, mamia ya abiria kutoka Dar wafurika vituoni kusaka usafiri. Tabua yatoa angalizo yaliyotokea Oktoba 29, hofu ya Desemba 9 vyatajwa. So they're just talking about the kind of holiday traffic, people traveling to various parts of the country, but how that will be affected by the expected demonstrations on December 9th. What we've seen pale. Polisi wataja mambo 12 kujihadhari December 9. So a lot of focus on what may happen on December 9th, according to the security agencies. That will be a big one if at all people go back to the streets again in Tanzania. They've never seen that. Wapenzi wadakwa na dawa hatari, mali ya shilingi bilioni 3, pesa za Tanzania zataifishwa. All right. So a lot of focus on what may happen on December 9th in Tanzania. That is the main focus there. We'll have to wait until November 9th for us to see that. And we'll be back to take a look at the local dailies in a short while. But for now, let's take a look at the weather situation across Kenya. This whole week, we've been seeing a trend where we're seeing rising temperatures across most regions. Let's start in the eastern part of the country in Kitui. It is quite warm this morning at 18 degrees. They say light rain is expected. It is a cloudy day across most of that area. Highs of 27 degrees. Remember, the weatherman yesterday said that we do expect a very dry December, a dry January, and that could continue until February. But in Kitui, they seem to suggest that there's a bit of rain. In as far as temperatures are concerned, tomorrow will even be hotter, and the weekend will still be hotter, getting into next week. Yeah, that's Kitui. Down south at the coast, let's take a look at South Coast Diani. 25 degrees currently. They say it's partly cloudy. A lot of sunshine expected later in the day. Highs of 31 degrees, and this will continue into the weekend and into next week. A bit of precipitation, but nothing much. Just as the weatherman said, not much rainfall. Let's go to the Mount Kenya region in Nyeri. 13 degrees currently. They say it will be a cloudy day, a bit chilly there, highs of 23 degrees, a bit of rainfall expected, especially starting from mid-morning. Whether this will change the trend in as far as temperatures is concerned, not much, because we can see Friday and into the weekend, the temperatures will remain more or less the same as today, around highs of 23. Up north in Mandera, 26 degrees currently. I think that's the hottest we've seen. It is a cloudy day, but the temperatures are punishing in Mandera. 36 degrees, the highs there. This will continue into the weekend, 36, getting to 38 by Thursday next week. Hawa ndio ile ukweli wanasema. Warm temperatures to be recorded elsewhere. Another place which is usually chilly is Eldoret. And true to that, it's 14 degrees currently. They say it is a cloudy day. Highs of 24 degrees, so people in Eldoret, comfortable weather. This will continue into next week, just getting higher at 25 on Tuesday next week. So yes, the same trend of warming temperatures continues. Let's see if the city is experiencing that trend as well. 17 degrees in Nairobi currently. They say it is a cloudy day as well. A bit of precipitation expected starting this morning at around 7, heading towards early afternoon, but I don't think that precipitation will be felt in as far as rainfall is concerned. Highs of 26 degrees. Tomorrow it goes up to 27, and I think that will be the warmest we've experienced in December so far. It has been shifting from 25 to 26. This will go down over the weekend. On Sunday, I think it will be the coolest at 25. But then, once next week starts, just as the weatherman said, temperatures go far up, 27 degrees again on Tuesday next week. So that's the the weather situation across most parts of the country. Let's focus now on the traffic situation in Nairobi as families continue to begin their holiday travel across the country. Just as you've seen in Tanzania, sio sisi pekee tunasafiri sababu ya Christmas na mambo mengine. And yes, just like we saw yesterday, a lot of the traffic centered around the CBD, areas around Tea Room, River Road, Machakos bus station, Pale Railways bus station, because that's where most of the buses to upcountry and other vehicles are usually parked. So a lot of activity around Haile Selassie Avenue, Mudhurwa area, and Machakos bus station as well. Away from that, major tributaries into town, we can see Makadara there along Jogoo Road getting busy. Also Shauri Moyo there getting busy as well. Further towards Eastlands, and we can see, yes, quite busy. Outer Ring Road is getting really busy. Areas around Pipeline, Tasia, and further. Long stretches of yellow and red there as you head towards Donholm roundabout. We go to the other side, which is Thika Road, and Thika Road not looking bad this morning. Ile kawaida tu pale Pangani interchange, but Thika Road is smooth all the way from Ruiru into town. Other major tributaries are Mombasa Road and Wayaki Way, nothing to report from that direction, and even the western part of the city is looking good, so a lot of the traffic within the CBD. Yes, that is a situation. We'll be looking at the local dailies in a short while.
Every mistake whispers, stay humble. Life isn't about being right, it's about learning, evolving, and honoring the journey with an open heart.
Yes, quite a number of political headlines this morning. We'll be looking at that in a few seconds. Exactly 1 week after the events of November 27th, last week, with the by-elections across the country, we're still considering the aftermath of the results. How opposition lost Malava and Mbeere North is a story there on the front page, and I don't know why I'm even chuckling, because tungekuwa kama Tanzania tuseme we move on, heal and move on. But we're still trying to examine what really happened. The by-elections were billed as a chance for the president's rivals to test their popularity. The Mbeere North and Malava constituency seats seemed the best bets for opposition candidates, but the ruling party won both, albeit with narrow margins. Besides the heavy state machinery, past voting patterns, clan politics, and population dynamics influenced the outcomes of the polls. This is a focus on pages 4 and 5. Yes, the Mbeere North race, as well as what happened in Malava. Interestingly, my panel this morning will be having Dr. Peter Mbae, who took a break from coming to the show to go and attend to what was happening in Mbeere North. Today, he had declared that they're going to win Mbeere North. In fact, all the contests he had declared, those are won by DCP and other united opposition parties. He'll be here to explain to us what happened. The other person on the panel is Wilson Sosion, who had actually declared and predicted that UDA and ODM will take all the parliamentary seats. They went on to do that. He'll be here this morning. Zakaria Baraza, who was very much involved in the Malava contest, will also be here. He had expressed quite some confidence at the DAPK candidate winning that seat, and he was present during the campaigns. Atatueleza ni wapi kiliumania. Meanwhile, Gachagua is stirring up a storm. Tensions have risen in the united opposition, with controversial remarks by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua rocking the outfit that is planning to field a joint presidential candidate against President William Ruto in the next general election. Yes, ile story ya kusema mambo vile itaenda Nairobi imezua vurugu, lakini anasema ni media ina misquote. Yeah. Dr. Peter Mbae is the Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs at DCP. He will be best placed to tell us why they feel that the party leader is being misquoted. Another story given prominence hapa Juni ile Senate as they considered the impeachment of Amos Nyaribo as governor of Nyamira County. He survived that on a technicality yesterday. MCA's blunder hands Nyaribo easy state win, and it was as simple as counting. Paka unashangaa kwani hawa watu wa county assembly hesabu inakuanga shida namna gani? Yeah? How Nyaribo survived ouster in the Senate. The besieged Nyamira governor last night survived the ignominy of being only the second governor to be removed from office by impeachment since the 2022 elections after being saved on a technicality. Yes. 38 senators voted to uphold a preliminary objection challenging whether the 2/3 threshold required to impeach a governor had been met by the Nyamira County Assembly. Had they? Well, he survived. He's still governor of Nyamira, and that is a story that features there. The other one is about education. 58,000 teachers. More teachers are needed in senior school. Remember, the very first cohort of junior secondary transitioning candidates to the senior school will be happening this January, and we'll wait to see if we are all ready for that. There's a very interesting story on page 3 of the Daily Nation, how the Holy Communion has become a profitable business. Kuna watu wamefanya hiyo biashara yao ya kupika ile tunaitaje, ile whatever you partake as Holy Communion. It is being produced en masse, and people are now doing serious business with that. On the back page, only 18,000 fans will be let in at Mashemeji Derby. Homeside Gor Mahia lay out arrangements for the biggest club football match in Kenya. Yes, that is Sunday. Gor Mahia will be hosting AFC Leopards, and wamesema it is only 18,000 fans ndio watakubaliwa pale. Munajulikana tabia zenu, mukienda kwa hii derby lazima murushe mawe. Nyinyi mambo yenu mutawacha. That's the Daily Nation. Let's focus on another paper, probably that talks about politics as well here in Kenya, and that's the People Daily. No, let's take a look at the Star. I think that's more political. And this is a second paper that has the former deputy president on the front page. And they're quoting him saying, "I will not work for you," Rigiji tells opposition. The ex-deputy president tells allies he will concentrate on building his party. He's been doing that, and even claiming just how powerful his party is, especially in Nairobi, buoyed, of course, by the wins in county assembly contests at the November 27th by-election in Kisa, Narok, Kariobangi North. Lakini pia kuna ile chama kingine inaitwa nini, UPA, waliuko Nyamira walichukua viti kama 3-4 hivi. Not so bad. But yes, for a new party as DCP, getting 3 new parliamentary positions is not so bad, and is feeling confident that he should be working more towards building his party. So that is a story on page 7 of this paper, Matters Rigathi Gachagua. The other story given prominence, the picture there of the Odinga family. Odingas begin final journey for sister burial. They had a funeral service yesterday in Nairobi, and you can see a photo there of the Siaya Senator Oburu Odinga, who's also the party leader of ODM. Dr. Wenwa Akinyi, his sister, the other sister Ruth Odinga, beside the coffin of their sister Beryl Odinga during a requiem mass at Consolata Shrine in Nairobi yesterday. Incidentally, the Odinga family has also received news of another loss in the family. There's bereavement, and I'm sure the media will be capturing that as we go along. Kemri reports Africa's first superbug gene in Kisii. This is a very interesting story. Kenyan scientists have for the first time detected a gene that can make bacteria resistant to nearly all major antibiotics. Yeah. Although the feared gene has been isolated in other countries, this is the first time it has been found within Africa. Interestingly, in Kisii, Gokwa Kina Momanyi. You know, this is a problem. If at all this one finds itself into probably a good chunk of the genetic pool, that means antibiotics become useless. That story is on page 2 of this paper. Britain fights MPs report on Batuk atrocities, matters British Army centered in Nanyuki and their misbehavior. MPs waliwafinya sana wakasema these people might be extradited even if they leave and go back home, and they should be facing local courts. So that's the Star. Rigiji, once again on the front page of this one, talking about his party, DCP. All right, let's take a look at another one that talks about politics. Ni gazeti la Taifa Leo hapa. Wanasema Gachagua atikisa upinzani, licha aliyekuwa naibu wa rais kufafanua kwamba tangazo la awali ni matunda ya majadiliano, Kalonzo akana. Yes. So mvutano unaendelea kutokota ndani ya muungano wa upinzani kufuatia kauli za aliyekuwa naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua kwamba chama chake Democracy for Citizens Party au DCP kitakuwa chama pekee cha upinzani kuwania viti kaunti ya Nairobi katika uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2027. Kauli hii imeibua sintofahamu na maoni mseto ndani ya upinzani. Kalonzo Musyoka, kiongozi wa Wiper Patriotic Front, amekanusha kuwepo na makubaliano hayo, akisema chama chake hakikubaliana na mpango wowote wa kuipa DCP haki ya kuwania viti vya Nairobi peke yake. So swali ni, maana huyu aliyekuwa naibu wa rais anasema amekuwa misquoted media, anasema ni serikali ya Rais Ruto inajaribu kutenganisha viongozi wa upinzani. Lakini kama Kalonzo anasema anakana hayo mambo, so nani anasema ukweli? Ni nani anasema ukweli? Kando na hayo, vidokezo zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele gazeti hili la Taifa Leo, anasema biashara ya sakramenti inavyonawiri. Mchungaji mmoja anaelezea alivyoingia biashara ya kuuza vifaa vya meza ya Bwana baada ya kugundua mapungufu. So there's a shortage of what we partake as holy sacrament in most churches, and it is a business opportunity. Maafisa wa KDF wamulikwa kuiba dawa. Washukiwa kuiba kiwango kisichojulikana cha dawa za kulevya kutoka shehena iliyonaswa. So wanaenda kuuza ama wanaenda kubugia. Kwingineko, Trump hapa kutimua raia wa Somalia, na pale juu kilichofanya upinzani kubwagwa kule Malava na Mbeere North, upinzani umetaja vitisho na matumizi mabaya ya rasilimali za serikali. Kwenye spoti, Haaland avunja rekodi ya Shearer, mshambuliaji atinga mabao 100 kwa haraka. Lakini wale Man City watulie, bado tunajua ni nani yako juu ya meza. Juu ya meza ni timu moja tu, sio lazima niseme, munaelewa. Gazeti la Taifa Leo, tuangazie The Standard sasa. The Standard once again, and we've seen and I've said this before the past 1 or 2 weeks, The Standard has steered clear of matters politics, especially after the November 27th by-elections. They're focusing on other stories. This time around, matters security. On the front page, Mbijiwe is a question they're asking: is he dead or alive? Disappeared without a trace. For more than 4 years, the family of missing security analyst Mwenda Mbijiwe has lived in agony. Now, a High Court order summoning Kenya's top police chiefs has reopened old wounds and raised new questions. As his mother collapses under the weight of despair, the state is finally being forced to explain how a man allegedly seized by police could vanish without a trace in a country where enforced disappearances have become chillingly routine. That's a story. Yesterday, the mom and their lawyer were in court. And now Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja and his DCI counterpart Mohamed Amin have been summoned by the courts to explain how this person can just disappear without a trace after allegedly being arrested by police. So they say in June 12th of 2021, that's the date that Mwenda Mbijiwe was picked by people that his relatives say were police on Thika Road in Nairobi while on his way to Meru. And then December 16th, the Inspector General of Police and DCI boss are expected in court to explain the analyst's whereabouts. Tuone kama Standard wako na any political news on the inside pages. Yesterday we struggled to find a political headline inside the Standard. Of course, they talk about the Nyaribo impeachment yesterday that was botched due to failure by MCS to ensure that the 2/3 threshold was met. ELOG, which is an election observer body, says IEBC was not in charge of by-elections. Still no serious political story. Gachagua claims DCP's influence is rising after 3 victories in poll. That's on page 5. That's a fast political story. And on page 8 and 9, a bit of politics here. Oburu's big task amid inter-party rivalries and high-stakes scramble for Nairobi intensifies as election clock ticks. So a bit of politics here and there, but nowhere on the front pages. Tukiangalia the back page of the Standard, they talk about World Cup qualification, World Cup draw that will leave mouths agape. The draw for the 2026 World Cup, the biggest edition of football's global showpiece ever held, takes place tomorrow in Washington, which will be part of the hosts of the tournament, with the US president expected to feature prominently in the proceedings. It is an expanded tournament of 48 teams. Previously, it has been 32 teams. So yes, World Cup will be held between June 11th and July 19th next year. And that's the Standard. Tukiendelea sawa sawa, I think it's the People Daily we are yet to look at, and the People Daily talks about matters economy. Why Rootonomics is choking Kenya's future is a story they're talking about. Across Kenya, families and businesses are leaving a reality marked by suffocating taxes, soaring prices, shrinking jobs, collapsing small enterprises, and an ever-tightening grip on public debt inside what many now call a death trap economy. They break it down to the issues they're talking about, matters fiscal discipline, issues around the high taxation, towards matters affordable housing, as well as a SHA. So you can read this story on the inside pages of this paper on page 4. And the highlights, the real reasons the president is turning to chiefs ahead of 2027. Pale juu, can Mudavadi and Wetangula survive without a complete political rebrand? Well, there are those who argue that they managed, at least Mudavadi managed to deliver Malava. Did he? Or was it Farouk Kibet? Meanwhile, the Ford Kenya leader, who's the Speaker of the National Assembly, had a rather embarrassing moment when his home ward of Kabuchai was taken away by an independent candidate in the by-elections. Anyway, let's take a look at Business Daily so that I can give you something to look forward to. State set for 245 billion shilling windfall from sale of Safaricom stake. Treasury has drawn 550 billion shilling dividends since Telco's listing. Now they're planning to sell. The state is planning to offload a 15% stake in Safaricom to South Africa's Vodacom Group in a deal that will raise 245 billion shillings for the exchequer to ease dependence on debt to fund its budget deficit. So Kenya's stake in Safaricom, which is a leading telco, not just in Kenya but across the region, will be further ceded to the mother company Vodacom, meaning Kenya will have less and less ownership of this company. The other story, 15 billion shillings, lecturers, teachers, allocations, top in fresh mini budget, talking about supplementary budget before the end of the year. On the ticker, imports record fastest growing Kenya Power source of electricity. Lobby sues EAPC's Tanzania farm takeover, and World Bank says Kenya has failed to tame spending. Those are the business-related headlines this morning. Let's take a look at the cartoons today. And they're a bit jumbled up here. One of them is on the Standard, and today Harry is back. And he's talking about matters, youth unemployment and the immigration that is now turning chaotic and painful for some Kenyans. So Kenyan youth are looking abroad because the president told them he has secured jobs abroad. Yet we're getting from Gulf nations advisories, UK travel advisory, nations in civil war travel advisory, because Kenyans traveling to Russia for jobs are now finding themselves in prison. By the time you get back, Kenya will be a first world economic power. When will that be? When he turns 90? Anyway, that's one of the cartoons. The other one is on the Daily Nation, and it talks about matters holiday travel. Yes, we saw NTSA saying that there could be the return of the breathalyzer gadgets as well as speed governors. So here, they're talking about, according to this cartoon, they're just urging motorists to observe road safety as holiday travel begins in most parts of the country. That's a cartoon on the Daily Nation. Let's take a look at the cartoon on the People Daily. Lessons learned from Gen Z, and this is stemming from the by-elections of November 27th. So we have three frames here. On one of them, we have young people demonstrating on the streets saying, Haki yetu, Gen Z want a share in government. Then on the second one, we have an IBC official there sleeping on a voter registration desk because Gen Zs have simply refused to show up and register as voters. And on voting day, the queue is just full of people on wheelchairs and using walking sticks. Wanauliza, where are the youth? So wanapiga kelele kwa street, ikifika kupiga kura, hawaonekani. Finally, the cartoon on the Star, and this is matters politics. Kuna jamaa pale ameka mguu moja juu ya mlima, ile mlima ya Mount Kenya na juu ya KICC Nairobi. Anataka kushika Mount Kenya na Nairobi sasa. I did not say what I said. Who is this? DCP party leader. I did not say what I said. Of course, we'll be having the DCP Secretary for Planning and Economic Affairs to tell us why they really feel that their party leader was misquoted. All right, so those are the dailies, and these are the big discussions we'll be looking at. But just before I go on a break, I want to tell you about something very interesting. Yes, as we prepare for the holiday festivities, Formia this weekend itakuwa pale Fun City. Fun Out Kids Fiesta ndio form, happening at Fun City Gardens grounds on 6th December. That's this Saturday. This is the biggest kids festival of the season. Families, kids, teenagers and schools get now ready to play, explore and make memories at Fun City Gardens. And we'll be giving you some vouchers in a short while. But this is a big discussion. Something to look forward to this weekend. Ni kama umekuwa ukipangia watoto mambo watakuwa wakifanya. Yes, we're talking about this kids fiesta. What happens is that it's free. And for those who are willing to be vendors or are looking forward to business opportunities from there are vendor spaces available at different rates, and you need to book your spot now. Simply call this number or WhatsApp 0722-238-988 to secure your slots. Once again, Fun Out Kids Fiesta is happening this Saturday at Fun City Gardens here in Nairobi. And you have an opportunity to take your teenager, your kids, and even school children for that event. And if you want to be a vendor for the same event, you can book your space now. Call or WhatsApp the number 0722-238-988. Meanwhile, we're giving vouchers to the same events. How do you get this voucher? And you can actually spend this voucher on food, redeem it for food and kids' fun activities, because entry to this event is free of charge. So simply do this through our social media pages. Answer the question: who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Answer that question on our social media pages. That's TV47 Kenya, also TV47 Digital on X. Remember to use the hashtag Morning Cafe TV47 as well as Fun Kids Fiesta. Let me just tell you the hashtags to use. Yes, Fun Out Fiesta, Fun City Gardens, Kids Event Kenya, Family Fun Day, Vendor Wanted, and Nairobi Events. All those are hashtags for this. So once again, answer this question on our social media pages. Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Do one more thing when you answer that question. Tag the person or the people that you would want to accompany you for that Kids Fiesta and tell us where you are texting us from. Yes? Ndio tujue vile tutakupatia hizo vouchers. All right? Get texting right now on all our social media pages, TV47 Digital on X, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you want to tag me, my handle on X is at Fred Indimuli. See you after the break as we sit down with my panelists to take a look at the big headlines this morning.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Mimi si simpa. Hiyo naona nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Ferike tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Ferike is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasukuni.
CP unit ni Punet. Ni Punet. Punet. So you guys knew about... Piga. Sawa basi. Sema, that gave it the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You'll have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m.
Next time you need fresh lemon juice, microwave a lemon for 7 to 10 seconds. Then, roll the lemon back and forth under your palm on the counter. When you squeeze, you'll get more juice from the lemon with way less effort.
Start your day with Relationship Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Ann Odida. Dive deep into the dynamics of love, friendship, and family as we explore the stories that shape our connections. Then, satisfy your appetite with Tasty Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., where Anne serves up delicious recipes, cooking tips, and the latest food trends to inspire your next meal. Relationship Wednesday and Tasty Wednesday, every Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., only on Morning Cafe.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back. This is the Morning Cafe on TV 47. My name is Fred Ndimuli. 22 days to Christmas, and you know what? A lot of good things are happening this holiday season. One of them, and I can give you for me here weekend, is a Fun Kids Fiesta happening at Fun City on Saturday this week. Here in your form, the biggest kids fiesta of the season. Families, kids, teens, and schools get ready to play, explore, and make memories at Fun City Gardens. Entry is free. Yes, here in your form, Fun Out Kids Fiesta happening this Saturday. And I'll be giving you vouchers and telling you how you can win vouchers that you can redeem for food and kid fun activities. But for those who are willing or would want to be vendors at the same event, spaces are available at different rates and you can book your spot today. Simply call or WhatsApp 0722 238 988 to secure your slot. Simply call or WhatsApp 0722 238 988 to secure your slot as a vendor at the Fun Out Kids Fiesta happening at Fun City this Saturday, where entry is free. So, for you to win a voucher, a gift voucher which you can redeem for food or kid fun activities, Simply answer this question on our social media pages. Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Answer that question through our social media pages, the ones on your screen at TV47 Kenya. You can also do that on YouTube, TV47 Kenya. You can also send your answer on WhatsApp. The number is there, 0793-267-279. Tell us, who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Do something extra. Actually, tag the person or people that you'd want to accompany you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and tell us where you're texting us from, for us to be able to make sure that this voucher gets to you. Yes, the Fun Out Kids Fiesta happening this Saturday at Fun City. Let's now come back and take a look at the headlines this morning. A few political headlines on quite a number of the dailies. At least 3 of the major dailies have gone with political headlines. On the front page of the Daily Nation, how opposition lost Malava and Mbeere North. That's a big one. On the front page of the Star, I will not work for you, Rigiji tells opposition. And the ex-deputy president tells allies he will concentrate on building his party. It is only the Standard that has steered clear of political headlines, talking about Mbijiwe, the security analyst who disappeared 4 years ago without a trace, and they're asking the question, dead or alive. The court yesterday ordered the chief of police, that's the IG Douglas Kanja, and his DCI counterpart to appear before court on this matter on December 16th. I want to now to introduce my panelists for our discussion this morning as we take a look at these political headlines. Many of my panelists who are present with us today made declarations with regard to what to expect in the by-elections of November 27th. One of them is Wilson Sosion. Mwalimu Wilson Sosion is a veteran educationist, unionist, and a former member of the National Assembly. Bwana Sosion, I can already see the green on your face, but karibu sana. Allow me to welcome you.
Of course, I made the correct projections.
The other person who made a very serious prediction about the race in Malava is Zakaria Baraza. Is here with us, political commentator. And we saw you at the forefront of the campaigns in Malava, and you'll be telling us what happened.
Yes.
How the opposition lost the Malava and Mbeere. And I like the fact that the Daily Nation has gone with this headline this morning. Karibu sana Bwana Baraza.
Asante.
Of course, Dr. Peter Mbai also made his predictions here. And very resolutely, I might add.
Fred, why are you also excited? Why is it, Fred, that you also
Excited.
Why, Fred, why are you also very happy?
Amma is on the other side.
Allow me to introduce.
Why are you guilty? Fred, I don't like this at all.
Why
Why are you exceptionally happy? You should be
Why are you guilty?
Dr. Mbai is a Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs at the DCP, and he was very resolute in his declaration and prediction that the United Opposition would clinch all the parliamentary contests. Apart from Banisa, I think even Banisa, you said you were going to clinch it. That was before the by-elections came. And you'll be telling us exactly what happened.
Lobby with violence.
Just as the headline on the Daily Nation says. Let's start with you, Bwana Sosion. You predicted right.
Yes, my predictions were right because my arguments are very scientific and it's informed by data. It's not informed by emotions. It's not driven by wishes. And I have said all along, Kenya is a superpower democracy. It cannot be a superpower democracy if the citizens are not properly informed and they are not able to take right decisions that are above ethnic and sectarian interests. It was obvious that all the 7 seats, Senate and the 6 parliamentary, would go to broad-based. I talked about it here, and I outlined how the outcome will look like. Basically because of the agenda that the broad-based is delivering across the country. Kenyans are getting excited with the delivery master plan of the broad-based that has grown beyond the original 5 pillars. And right now, the infrastructure master plan is falling in place. And the president has clearly communicated the infrastructure master plan.
Is it about that, Bwana Sosion, or is it
It's about the agenda. It's about the agenda.
Fact that those seats,
it was about
that
the agenda.
all the parliamentary seats that were in contention, they all, before the by-elections, were basically broad-based occupied. There's nothing new you won in the parliamentary seats.
No, and I think, Fred, we have to agree that Kenya is a democracy, and any political party can field a candidate in any part of the country. And so we cannot say those who are the traditional strongholds of the broad-based. There were still constituencies within the Republic of Kenya, and all other political parties actually fielded their candidates, and they sold their manifestos. It's about selling your agenda. And so the agenda won. What some people are not watching, are not following very closely, like the United Opposition are fixated on one term. That is not selling to Kenya.
Let's focus on the elections.
But the broad-based is focused on the delivery of the national development transformative agenda.
Did the broad-based arrangement expand any? Did they get any new seats from the by-elections?
Well, when we won all the 7 seats, were we getting anything?
They were yours before.
Additional.
Question. Did you get any additional?
Was Vanessa ours even in the first place?
Did you get any additional?
Vanessa
seats?
wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And Mbere had gone originally was Democratic Party.
DP is still within.
DP bolted out.
CS Ruku
DP
was
bolted
a
out.
previous occupant.
Did we not see Justin Muturi here in the show chasing and beating up a poor innocent Kenyan? Did we not? Okay. So that's a big gain for the broad-based. The Mbere is a big gain for broad-based.
Okay.
And Malava, with the narrative that Western had shifted. We saw those arguments. We had them in this show.
Okay.
It reaffirmed
let's allow the rest to examine the same.
That the broad-based agenda is national. It belongs to all the people of Kenya, and it is selling.
Bwana Baraza, what happened? Because your prediction was that at least Malava was going towards the United Opposition.
In fact, one thing, I'm surprised my brother here saying that they won the election. If you look at, we had 27 by-elections. Broad-based won 8. We won 19. Now, who are the winners? 2, if you look at like Malava by-election, what happened? There was no election. What was there was robbery, theft. Look, if you look at the level of violence that was there, was on another level. Look like our agents were being kicked out of the polling centers by goons from the other camp, and there's nothing we could do. You look at our, like Eugene Omalaska being banned on the election day. We had 14 vehicles carrying goons with crude weapons, and the police were doing nothing. So, in fact, if you look at Malava, that seat was taken away from us. The night before election, our candidate was attacked. What happened? Nothing. 2, I would blame IEBC. The reason being, like the campaign were closed on Monday. On Tuesday, we had government officials who were still campaigning, giving out mattresses and blankets. You saw it; it was all over, and saying, "Go and vote for Ndakwa, our opponent."
Is this anything new that we've not witnessed before in other electoral process?
Is it right?
Why did you
do we just fire wrong thing? It's not right. You see, IEBC should be neutral. It should be an umpire that can be able to deliver. But you see, it also got into bed with the government. Look at the government machineries. Government officials being allowed, CSS, campaigning in the open. Is it allowed? It's not allowed. Like even in Bungoma, the Speaker of the National Assembly, campaigning even on the election day. Like you can imagine, for example, in Kapchai, just after the election, the following day, we had Dilma Barasa campaigning. We had the governor campaigning. But what does IBC do? Is it a level playing ground? It was not. So like if you look at what happened in Malava, that victory was taken away from us by force, by the state machinery. There's nothing we could do, because if you saw what happened to our opponent being attacked, like if you look at Kapchai, our agents being attacked from the polling centers. But what has the government done? What has the police done? Nothing. Look at Bungoma. where the governor Natembeya was campaigning for the opponent, for the independent candidate. Shots being fired by thugs. And what has the police done? Nothing. I get that. Because in any normal circumstance, when shots are being fired, the first thing the police should carry out investigations, people being attacked. What is done? This was not an election, it was a robbery. And I would agree with my brother here, it's robbery with violence. But the only advantage is that it was being done by politicians. If it was someone else, most people would be in court right now. But show me any case where someone has been taken to court. You saw the president saying yesterday, or the day before yesterday, that they should crack on those criminal gangs. Why crack on them when they've already achieved what they wanted? The purpose of those gangs was to deliver the election. They have been able to achieve. Now, when you say that, look, I want the government to crack down on those things, too late in the day. Yeah.
Dr. Mbai, what happened?
Thank you, Fred. Like I said, that was not an election. The government was committed and determined to steal, to actually rob 3 elections. They concentrated at the parliamentary level. I'm talking about Mbere, I'm talking about Marava, I'm talking about Magarini. But mostly, we are concentrating on Mbere and Marava. Now, and I'll give you very quick instances. We thought, because some of us went there, other people went there from the other formation to go and assist Mbere people to vote. Like, go campaign and allow them finally to vote. That's what we expected. That we would go and vote. Now, remember, when the current president was a deputy, he founded UDA where we were. And we did 7, I think 5 or 6 by-elections. At no one time did the president of Uhuru Kenyatta do the kind of things that we saw. They went there, campaigned, but they didn't interfere with IBC. They didn't. And it's good to have some comparative analysis. So we went there. But what did we see? One, as we speak today, our lawyers are investigating, the lawyers of the DP, the ones who are going to court, are investigating claims that some votes, some IDs were bought at 10,000 shillings. I'm saying they're investigating claims. It's like 1,000, 10,000 each, so they never voted. Number 2, people from outside Mbere voted. 3 days ago, we got information by one of the senior leaders who is elected, saying, I've been told people to come with IDs from a county which is outside Mbere, outside Embu, and they voted. Later, we got reports they voted. Number 3, look, that morning, Unga was being distributed. Now, another thing somebody would come and say, somebody as young as me and you, come and say, I don't know how to vote, I want to be assisted. So that when you go there, you say, I want to be assisted. Of course, all the agents come. Then you are asked, who do you want to vote for? They will say, Wamadende, for example. And then, when he goes out, he'll be given 5,000 Kenya shillings. Now, finally, and what is very painful, the complicity with IBC. But before I go there, when we were young and we were playing football, and one boy decides that he's not able to get possession of the ball, he would go to the field, get the ball, and run away with it outside the field. So what happens? This minister goes now, when we had won 1,000 votes ahead, around 7. Votes started. Everybody has a turning center, right? So we were able to see how the votes are coming. Immediately, it went quiet. And I told my team, this is danger. This is danger. What is happening? Why the raps? Because they could see we are winning. What did he do? He goes to a polling station. He causes confusion, fires some shots in the air, chases away all the agents by force, strapping them. They run away, commotion happens. He takes the entire ballot box with police, puts it in some vehicle, and goes out with it. Then they go and count the votes. And they say that the candidate we are supporting, Karish, got 100, and they give themselves 400. That is the vote they won with. So in short, I can tell you, IBC knew that. They knew because we complained. They went ahead to register that and announce somebody a winner. So what I can tell you in a nutshell is that we never knew. But it was a very good learning lesson that 2, IBC, and we are talking about specific individuals, we are going to pick them up like this. Why did you do A, B, C, D? Because that was very wrong. But the major question, and this is important, even to date, IBC have never told us who was our opponent. Is it Leonard Jero or is that Leo Wamadende, even today? Because the person in the register is Leonard Jero. Okay. The person who came to vote was Wamadende. Now, let me tell you the worry that Kenyans have. Is this the IBC that will take us on? Is this government that wants to go and spend somewhere all this kind of money and make sure that they must win for bravado purposes? Look at how the bravado did. They wanted just to win for the sake of it. the following day, on 28th. There's no coincidence in politics. They organized to go and launch, commission, the Rironi Summit Road, just for bravado. Very little was said about that road, if you remember. Very little.
Okay.
But they went on to say...
Back to the by-elections.
Yeah.
Back to the by-elections. Part of the analysis that came and the reactions that came immediately after the Mberenov contest was out the Chama Kazi candidates probably messed up the election for the DP candidate. Do you buy into that kind of argument?
I would say today, people will learn to trust what my party leader says. There are several wheelbarrows that are going to be sent to confuse the people across the country, not just Mount Kenya. People saw it for themselves. That guy got about 2,400 votes, if I'm not wrong, and they came the last minute talking about one term. Okay, that's why I'm saying, if you are talking about one term, and you are not one of us, you are going to declare you a wheelbarrow. Please note, and that is a very important observation, because he comes, he says one term. We know the person behind it is an NIS agent. We know the people who operate that party. They are NIS. So what's going to happen is this. One of the things the government must do, especially in Mount Kenya, and of course other parts of the country, they are going to get decoys. They are going to get decoys, send a party that's friendly, sort of, and up to today, send people that's friendly to go and divide the vote, to go and divide the vote. But very importantly, the issue of goons. This is important, Fred. Look, you cannot be the one sending goons. We had over 500 foreigners who surrounded that polling station when the minister went and took off the ballot. Now, then you come and begin condemning goonism. And then you are the master of goons. Let us call out this government. For it, it's important right now. We are not going to keep quiet about that. You go and announcing, you say now it's wrong. You go. Let me tell you, if Fred Rigathi Gachagua was cut to size out of the united opposition because of the losses, quote to quote, why chase them in church again with goons and tear gas?
And we'll come back to discuss the wins by the united opposition or members of the united opposition. But on this issue of the security and the kind of violence witnessed, that is indeed a fact as well, that there was a lot of violence across the country, across the major places where we had some of these contests. And the president this week has come to condemn the same, even the CS in charge of Interior. Do you agree that, yes, that may have contributed to some of the results that we saw?
In terms of voting and in terms of efficiency of IEBC, if anybody is complaining about operations and reliability of IEBC, then that person is dreaming. The voting was well conducted by IEBC, and so we cannot complain that DCP did not win Kariobangi. We cannot complain that they did not win Narok. People voted, and those who were declared have been declared. And I said last week, and that's the philosophy of Kenya, asiyekubali kushindwa siye mshindani. And the aspect of insecurity in these elections, the tension was so heightened, and it was palpable all over the country. We saw the violence activities by goons and individuals here. We saw even Honorable Kaluma was injured and was waylaid by goons. We saw Justin Muturi here actually mishandling a voter, assaulting, actually it's assault. And you know, if a leader takes on a citizen, it is possible that action alone can create tension and it can degenerate to violence. So the violence and goonism, which we even observed on Sunday, goonisms that were carried to some charge by the DCP party leader near the charge and engaged in action, the goons belong to them. And that's a fact. And I think
according to the admission by CS for Interior, according to the admission by Kipchumba Murkomen, is that also politicians within the government were using goons as well.
The statement by Kipchumba Murkomen prior to the conduct of the by-elections was candid, and it was informed by the tension and the level of violence that was predicted, and it came to pass. And you remember IBC fined the two candidates of Kasebul Kaponda, 1 million each. That should have been an indicator that there was a lot of heightened tension and violence, which should not be the case. And that is why the CS Interior directed deployment of adequate security to the polling stations and even gave clear protocols of what to do in the polling station. Cast your vote and leave, so that you leave the presence to the IEBC personnel and the security that are hired by IEBC. The security at the polling stations are not hired by the government of Kenya. They are hired by IEBC. The exercise belongs to IEBC. The polling stations belong to IEBC. That's a fact for sure. And I think government did very well to contain the rather that would have been more explosive insecurity. And I think going into the future, we need more stringent measures, punishments, criminalization of goonism and any form of acts of violence within our election. Our electoral processes must be sanitized so that it is free of all manner of dirty violence that we are seeing.
Let's hold it there for a bit. We take a short break. When we come back, we continue examining the results of the November 27th by-election and what the United Opposition could consider a win from that as well.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
Right, welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV 47. We continue looking at the results of the by-elections of November 27th, that is last week. It's exactly 1 week after those events, and I'm still here with Wilson Sosion, Zakaria Baraza, and Dr. Peter Mbai. But Baraza, okay, fine. Then the United Opposition were very confident. A lot of things happened. You may blame and you've tried to list the things that you felt went wrong. But it's only 19 months to 2027. If at all the situation remains the same, should we expect you to come back after the general elections of 2027 to complain, or are you confident that things will be different or will be countered in a different manner come that time?
You see, the reason why they were able to succeed is because, you see, we had only two like in Western Kenya, we had only one serious by-election. So they had to put all state machineries in that constituency. But come 2027, we'll be having election all over. They may not be able to manage. The reason being, like, look at how many state officers were in Malava. What were they doing? They were all campaigning. In 2027, every state officer will be in his own area campaigning. They may not be able to do that. Two, we are hoping that IEBC should be able to take note of what happened. Because you see, we cannot say that you are in charge of an election while some other people are taking charge. If you look at the ELOG report, they're saying IEBC was not in charge of the election. They were not in charge of the polling centers. The people in charge of the polling centers were the goons and the Kenya Kwanza government. So what we are saying is that we need to put some reform on IEBC, because without those reforms, we'll still go back to the same thing. We are trying to avoid a situation whereby after election, the country is divided in the middle. Because if you look at what happened in Bere, after rigging, what was the vote difference? About only 400. In Malava, without our agents being kicked out, the only difference was 300. Because we were sure we would win by more than 70%. So they don't have a win. In paper, they say they have won. But in the hearts of people of Malava, they know that the election was taken away from them. And they're saying, look, let's wait for 2027. We'll see what's going to happen. So what I'm trying to say is that I would like IEBC to be in charge. We would like to do some reforms, because whatever happened in Malava, whatever happened in Bere, should be a lesson to the country. It should not be a lesson to the opposition. It should not be a lesson to the government. It should be a lesson to the country. We need now to come together and say, look, what went wrong? How can we improve on this if we are looking for democracy? But you see, with the level of goonism that is there, if we repeat the same thing, we shall go the Tanzania way. That will happen. Because why allow goons to take charge of a serious excess in the presence of the media? But like in Malava, we had 14 vehicles, boxes, carrying goons, being supervised by Farouk Kibet, moving from one polling center to another. When they find an agent, then they kick him out. And that is impunity of the highest order. Why should we allow it to happen? If we allow it to happen, then let's prepare ourselves for 2027. Because one angel will get tired. Because why should you vote? Then your vote doesn't matter. Your vote should matter. You should walk into a polling center confident that the government is going to provide security. You should walk into a polling center knowing very well that this vote, IEB is going to take care of my vote. But if you allow other people to take charge of the very serious excess like voting in a by-election, then what will happen during the election? Two, a question is, why should the government spend state resources? Because you know there's a law that's saying that we should not allow government officials to campaign. Look at what happened in Kapchai. Wetangula was campaigning. He's a Speaker of the National Assembly. He should be a referee. He should be a neutral person. Look at Mbere. We had all the CSS campaigning. What does the law talk about it? What is going to happen? Are we going to see any change in that? Because if we don't do that, we're not going to have a free and fair election.
Hence my question to Dr. Mbai. Now you've had a week to consider and look at all this and the aftermath of what happened. Going towards 2027, what are the practical steps to ensure that you do not come back here and cry foul after losing that election?
Thank you. Just two observations, then I just give some go ahead. One, I've been thinking, we have a problem in Africa because some of us, we sit at a level where we are able to formulate policies and think on a wider level. Where you get elected in terms of mass, appealing to the masses and saying, you know, God, you know, when you elect me, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to use security institutions, I'm not going to use institutions of government. Then when you come in, you discover you have tear gas, you have NIS, you have police, you can order around, you have helicopters that you can go to intimidate people, like in Bere. So that's number one observation. It is so sad. One moment, you are there begging for votes. And I can tell you today, no one single shilling was spent for people who elected Luto in 2022. People just came out of the narratives he created and all that. And they had the kind of sympathy because of the issues they had with Uhuru Kenyatta. So how you think, therefore, now, Fred, you can buy loyalty and votes? It is amazing. And let me tell you one thing, some things are not possible. How you simply think because you're in power, you have the money, of course, from wherever you have gotten the money from. No, you can now go and buy literally votes, buying, if you vote for me, I'll go buy. That's one observation. But number two, if, Fred, you think you are popular, if you think, let's be fair, fine, you have been in power for 4 years. If you think you are popular, why go kill people? Today, there are going to be barrios this weekend in Chwere and Marava. Barrios. Why kill people in the pursuit of power? I don't know what they had with this Chwere guy. The night before, he told me, because we were communicating, the literal agents were being chased in their homes to be beaten and being forced to take money to go and switch sides. Now, in Narok, you saw what happened. On the night before, police came and goons to the home of the candidate Mascode and harassed everybody in the home. So the question is, if you are very popular, why then do you use force? If you have cut down...
Don't you think this will happen again?
I'm coming there. So, Fred, if you think you are popular and you have cut down opposition, why chase people in Kariobangi with tear gas again in church? The question is, what is all these people go to pursue with, Fred, when they're in power? But let me come to your question. One, immediately in Bere, on Friday morning, we constituted a team of lawyers, 15 of them, led by JB himself. They are putting up a case because, like you said, what you do in history, in these things, you learn something, you try first of all to go. Politics, they did what they did. Let's go, Rigo. And I can tell you, those issues I'm raising here, they will be raised. We are waiting for the CJ, by the way, to gazette an electoral court that's going to deal with that, with the petitions. We are going simply to go one by one. We have listed of 15 malpractices that happened, okay? All of them tied to IBC, and also trying to show state interference and all kinds of things. So number one, we are going to test the systems, and you're going to be seeing this because they're going to be in the media, how they are going to play out one by one about the things that happen. So in the hope that we are going to find culpable some IBC people, because it's one thing for government to misbehave, but when government goes into bed with independent institutions, then we are going to lose it. But number two, and this is important, I want to tell the Kenyan people, because you have asked a very good question, what will happen in the future? I want to tell the Kenyan people that we are going to have a general election where we are going to have MCAs and MPs and senators, women reps, all the way to the president in one polling station, who are going to be there and they will not be intimidated. They will do that because there are 2, 3, 4 people, they go buy them off the agents and all that. I can tell you this, Fred, we will not come back here in 2027 with excuses. It is a lesson, and we have learned the extent the government can do. We have known what IBC can do, and now we are telling our people, because of that, increase the resolve. Increase the resolve to say, if this can happen in Kenya, and sometimes I get thinking, Fred, I think we are either the people who are coaching Tanzania, or they are coaching us. There must be some relationship about the kind of things that happen here. There are people here who believe we're in the current constitution, but they want to rule Kenya using the old constitution. But finally, and this is important, after doing all that, Fred, after using goons all over, in Kabuchai, in Marava, in Narok, right? In Magarini, there was some isolated cases all over the place. Then you come and say, we are saying we are very concerned about goons, and we are going to deal with goons. Then you go and arrest members. So it's good to say here, you go and arrest members of one community. Again, to try maybe to pit people. Because when you go and say that the goons were members of one community in Kariobangi, after denying that they drew tear gas, literally, Fred, ask yourself, what is this they are fearing? They are fearing one thing, deep inside, despite all the bravado. The one fear this state has is something called Kasongo and one term. Deep inside, because they know. The president is a consumer of raw intelligence. He knows the country is moving and it is going. So this is bravado before a fall. They know that this thing is not going to work. And we are saying we refuse the arrest of those young men. We are asking ourselves, are they the ones who caused all that? Who sent them? How come they are from the same community? And are there plans to, again, create a rift between one community in Nairobi and another community to show that it is one community fighting the other? We disagree.
And we'll come to discuss the issue of Nairobi because it has also created quite some upheaval. But let's go back to the results, as it were. We've discussed the challenges that were there, but the results. You're very happy that the broad-based team came out as winners in all the 7 parliamentary contests. But when it came to the county assemblies, they recorded some wins as well. That says a lot in as far as some serious contests like the Kabuchai one, which was in home area of one of the principals in the Kenya Kwanza team. Wins in Nairobi, wins in Narok, wins in Kisii, Nyamira, 3 county assembly slots. Definitely that's a loss for the broad-based arrangement, don't you think?
Yes, before I comment on that, allow me to rebut some of the raw allegations that have been brought forward by my colleagues here, and which should not go unchallenged. You know, this is a public platform. And telling Kenyans lies is not the correct things. Government is not in the business of promoting violence. That's a fact for sure. And it's common knowledge that we could have tension among those contesting independently, but that does not constitute contribution of government. If you remember when IBC summoned the 2 candidates of Kasibul Kabondo, it was several weeks far away from elections. And the violence was not instigated by government, and government cannot sponsor goons. Government has enough resources to deploy security personnel to enforce law and order. So it is wrong if you cannot carry these goons around and then you try to blame it on government. It is wrong. And I think this is where the president has given a clear directive that these militias must be dealt with. Because if that is not done, this particular group, who actually are the owners of these militias, will bring them back in 2027. And I think that is something that needs to be clean. And so it's wrong to blame government, but then the owners of dealing with it is with the government. Okay. And government has stated a position. But as to the voting, the electoral process, and many Kenyans have spoken about it, the voting was clean and seamless. Imagine identification using biometric, that was done. In every polling station, there were agents of the different candidates. The counting was done. Those who won with numbers were declared by IEBC. Okay. And you can see the mosaic nature of the outcome. It is not possible to use in Kenya anymore to use state power or extra powers to interfere with the electoral process. It doesn't work. Okay. And if indeed anybody has credible evidence and data, then you file such a petition in a competent petition and prove it in a court of law. And then like, when it comes to the wins,
county assembly contests,
beginning with parliamentary.
No, we're not talking about parliamentary.
No. Allow me, I'm profiling all of them. Because you have asked a question.
I asked a question specifically
you've asked
about
a question.
The county assembly.
I'm sure your question is not structured. I'm sure it's an essay.
We know he's a teacher. He cannot teach us about being structured.
So I'm answering.
Is it that he answers the question or we answer it?
It was about
the intro of my answer is that we swept the parliament 100% broad-based. And that was a big focus because it encompasses large constituencies and it encompasses also a county like Baringo, for example. The rest of the MCAs, if we are to bring the data here, you will be surprised that the wards at the ward level, broad-based government came in with several seats in the by-elections. Because some unreported wards, broad-based candidates even went in unopposed. They were unable to field any candidate. So you cannot sing at the top of KICC or on rooftops about winning 3 seats out of 17.
3 seats.
And when you talk of Kabuchai,
even 1 seat that was previously held by UDA.
When you talk of Kabuchai, it went to independent. And by the way, let us respect what voters have decided. Let us respect that. That should be the fundamental rule. It doesn't matter who is elected. If A candidate is elected on DCP, is elected on DAPK, is elected on ODM. Let us respect. That is the verdict of those voters. And those particular candidates who were elected were able to convince the voters individually. Yes. And let's respect that. For me, I respect what voters decide. And I'm not here for glory, for glorification.
You had made a prediction with regard to the contest in Narok, for example, the County Assembly the County Assembly contest there. What is your feeling about the outcome?
I have no regrets over the outcome. The outcome, it went to a DCP candidate very narrowly, and the people of Narok town decided, and that is right. There's nothing wrong with that. There is an MCA elected by the people of that ward who will sit at the Assembly of Narok.
You cannot consider
That's
that
okay.
a loss for the broad-based...
No, it's not a loss. It's not a loss, not at all. Because if we are to look at numbers, even where they won was just narrow in those wards. And it's easy for us to go do a bit of homework to shore up our numbers for the entire broad-based. So what we have here is little homework. And by the way, Fred, against the backdrop of these by-elections, the presidential election for 2027 is done and dusted. William Ruto is set to be re-elected massively with a percentage, I think that will be above 65% in 2027. If that is what you are trying to look at.
And the United Opposition have decided to look at this as a win, not necessarily as a loss, because most of the parliamentary contests, those seats were previously held by members of the UDA and ODM parties. Nothing new in that.
Right. I'll first of all
comment on the narrative from what it was.
I know he wants me to comment on. Let me just comment on something. Like
accept the loss.
What happened? I want to narrate. How did we manage to win the Kabuchai?
He says we should not even claim it. It was an independent candidate.
But we are the people supporting the independent candidate. We are the one. The reason why did they shoot at us when we were campaigning for the independent candidate in Kabuchai? Why was the governor being targeted, George Natembea? We were in Kabuchai. Whom were you campaigning for? The independent candidate. Because we all agreed that, look, we are going to campaign for an independent candidate. The reason being, we had Ford Kenya renegades. People didn't want any. If they were to campaign for some other candidate, they would simply be kicked out of the party for promoting the ideas of another party. So we all agreed that, look, we are going to campaign for an independent candidate. And I can tell you what we went through, we've never gone through that. The reason being, one thing, we were not allowed to campaign. The first time we were there, me, George Natembe, Wangamati, the area MP Majimbo Kalasinga, we were attacked. And that evening, there was a rumor circulating in Bungoma that our opponent had hired 300 gangs, 300 with crude weapons. 14 of them were armed. I even personally called the county commissioner. I told him, look, we are going to hold a meeting tomorrow, but we have information that we are going to be attacked. That morning, I still called that, look, you are in charge of the security committee. We are going to have a meeting tomorrow. We are going to be attacked. Do you know what they did? Nothing. We were attacked. We nearly lost our lives. But we had a resolve that, look, we must have a change in Bungoma. After that attack, the following day, we were stopped from campaigning because they had put gangs all over. And we said there was no need for us to lose life. Then what happened? Even our candidate submitted the list of his agents to IBC. After submitting that list, the night before the election, all our agents were attacked. The reason being, the IBC leaked that list to our opponents. So that evening, all our agents were attacked. They could not be there in the station. That morning, the candidate himself, when he went to cast his vote, he was attacked. His agents were kicked out. But we had a reason. We said, even if they do that, we must win this election. We put measures in place. We put people there so that they would not allow them room to bribe voters. In fact, most voters are being bribed. Once you vote, you are given 500. But our people said, even if you are given 500, what the kind of violence we've seen will not allow the Ford Kenya to win. They would take 500, they vote for the opponent. In fact, even if you look at the stream where Moses Wetangula voted, we won. He could not win. In fact, some are saying that, look, he even ended up voting for the opposition. So what I'm saying is this, the level of violence that was in Bungoma, we had not seen it. But the people of Bungoma had a resolve to say, look, even if you do what, we have to vote for our candidate. And I would like other areas so that they don't get intimidated. But what I'm trying to ask the government, my brother Sosion, let's move away from Gunism. The reason being, shots were fired, nobody has been arrested to date. Our people are injured, nobody has been arrested to date. Gangs were moving around with crude weapons, nobody has been arrested to date. We have people who had guns because the shots that were fired were not fired by the police, were fired by some people. Have you seen anybody being taken to court? Nobody. What is it? It's impunity. Okay. So if we allow this impunity to move away, if we allow those crooks to move away with guns, what will happen in 2027? It will be a serious thing. So what I'm asking the government, it should be a lesson. They may have not won, but let them try to put law in order so that anyone who's going to vote, anyone who's going to campaign knows that, look, the police are going to be impartial. They'll not favor one side. But if you allow criminal gangs to take charge, we are going to move in another direction.
Kisa East, Narok Town, Kariobangi North, those were huge. And they gave a more or less nationalistic perception of the party, that it's not just in Mount Kenya. That to you is probably a much bigger win than any other?
That is what we have been saying. And we have been very consistent on it, Fred. And I can tell you the biggest party that is giving everybody headaches is DCP. That's why you see even all this confusion in Nairobi, why DCP, everywhere. And anything we are saying about even Nairobi, Fred, it's not by mistake. We mean what we are saying. Please, Fred, save me from Sosion. Always,
the microphones are picking everything you're saying.
He is now trying to rob my good friend Baraza here so that he can support him in the next conversation he's going to have. You are being here as a panelist. You must stand with your views without having to rob my friend Baraza here or on stage here. I'm saying, Fred, we have been saying something very consistently. The biggest headache right now is DCP. Now, combine that with DAPK, combined with WIPA, that is the biggest threat and the fear everybody has. Remember, the system has access to NIS, and they are being told, this is what is going to happen. I'll give you an example. So we had 5 candidates in DCP. We fielded only 5. We got 3 out of 5 in a party which is not even formally launched, okay? Look at this. We never fielded, for record, the United Opposition never fielded candidates in Saburu. We had 17. We had 1 Senate. Let me give you a very quick analysis. I can tell you, in the next general election, that young lawyer in Baringo will take that seat. He made a very good show for himself. And that is president's backyard, to indicate people are tired with UDA. Why? Because they never did good nominations. Then Gideon Boy was, kicked out of the race, and the people are coming. Now, with 6 MPs, quickly, Banisa, they bought off our candidate. We're using 100 million shillings or so. Right? Magarini, there are issues. You remember what my party leader said? That the vice chair of IBC met the governor there and they never denied. Now, let's go to Uguja. Uguja, more or less. Kasipul, that gentleman who was running on that party, the gentleman there who was supported by many, many people, including very senior people in government. That is the guy who was supposed to take that seat. But they said, because of the issue of Laira and all that, let's give it to him. But I can tell you in 27, Fred, you are going to see a lot of things about anti-government going to opposition. Now, the other, of course, Mbere, globally with violence, globally with violence in Marava, trying to win. But they forgot, Fred, if you want to test where people are, is MCA positions. Because that's where the people are. The UDA candidate in Kariobangi was number 4. The ODM candidate in Kisa East was number 9. What is that telling you? Look at Narok, where the people are. They couldn't concentrate on everything. If you want to steal, then steal even for MCA, so that people can say, oh, you won also here, and you won the MP. There's no way you can win the MP, and you don't win the MCA. So out of 17 MCA positions, United Opposition took 9. The only place we fielded and we lost came a second, number 2 second, is Pulko Ward. We lost with about 100 votes. Magarini MP, we lost very few votes. Now, what is that telling you? We never fielded candidates, MCA candidates in Samburu, in Nandi, in Tana River, in Garissa, in Elgeyo Marakwet, Uasin and Turkana, because we wanted to be strategic. So what we are saying is this: the force on the ground is the issue of we are starting. That's where the people are. Why? Let me ask you today: how comes you go win after spending 400 million in Bere, but UDA loses MCA seat in Kariobangi? We are now stamping our foot in Nairobi. We are in Kajiado. We are in Narok. We have done Kisii, where we took 3 seats. And something interesting happened last night. The broad-based people, including my good friend who sits in State House, his work is special projects, which means everything under the sun. He tweets and says, now what happened, the 3 MCAs from Nyamira, they were photographed with Governor Nyaribo, right? And they all said, the spin doctors came and said they have joined the broad-based government. Now, whether that was supposed to intimidate Nyaribo because of his Senate appearance yesterday, after he survived the impeachment, he said, no, me, I'm not aware of that. Yet the spin doctors of government had claimed that the 3 MCAs are broad-based. They said no. Right now, 2 are from UPA. Nyaribo is a party leader. 1 is from PDP, Omino Magara. I can tell you seated here today, and I want to give Kenyans hope because that's why we are here. Please, don't be shocked or being sold fear because of Mbera and Marava. I can tell you this: the people of Kenya, Fred, you cannot go against the power of the people. When 15 million, 20 million Kenyans decide to go this direction, all across the country, from out Kenya, of course, Mumbuni we took, Mumbuni in Machakos, that is Ukambani. We have put our footprints properly in the Maasai nation. We are in Kisii, we are in Western, we are in Mijikenda. I can tell you we have very good people coming from Luo Nyanza and from Rift Valley and Northeastern. That is the hope I want to give our people, that this was a good thing because we have learned what they are planning to do, but the power of the gun and the tear gas and all that will not stop the people of Kenya to vote the way they want to vote.
Yes, Bwana Sosion, I know you wanted to contribute to that because you said that I had changed the question midway. When it comes to contests for the county assembly seats, they seem to claim that that was a win for them and a loss for the...
No, and that's where the people are.
Yes, actually. Do you agree that to some extent, yes, you may have lost some that appeared very perceptively?
I don't agree. I don't agree. Statistically speaking, if you look at the numbers and you can display them, and we do a comparative table, you cannot talk of, for strategic reasons, you are unable to field candidates in certain wards. Then it means you lack capacity. You should admit, why glorify 3 or 4 wins out of 17?
No, 9.
Why?
9.
Out of 17. Why not tabulate all of them? And I've said overall, in terms of statistics, we still, on the world level, the broad-based government won majority of the seats. That's a fact in terms of numbers. And won all parliamentary. That speaks volume, combined together. And I think for them, they're looking at it from this ethnic corner and that ethnic corner, that village corner. But broad-based is working broadly. It's Kenyan.
But you do accept that the Western Kenya has been considered as a battle zone for most of these parties. And yes, the Malava seat went...
Let me tell you, Fred. Let me tell you, Fred.
County assembly seats...
Let me tell you, Fred.
Against the government?
Let me tell you, Fred, and very clearly. The broad-based government and team, for that matter, is not zoning the country. We are looking at citizens as equal citizens across the country. And we are taking a common universal message to all of them. Where citizens have voted otherwise in certain wards, we are not offended whatsoever. That is their own decision at that level. And that does not stop us from proceeding with our agenda. Because the indicators are clear, using both parliamentary and ward or civic seats. We've seen the response from majority of Kenyans is unanimous and is a big percentage. And let me tell you this, Fred. The broad-based will be a coalition before 2027, and it's going to be a big thing across the country. And it's about all Kenyans together. Okay. And it's about developing the entire Kenya. When we talk of moving Kenya to the first world, it is not moving infrastructure and leaving people behind. It is reducing poverty completely across the entire republic and bring it to a single digit or to 0. And that means you have to take every citizen. For broad-based, every citizen matters wherever they are. That is why we are rising above these ethnic games, which they seem so obsessed about, and they are glorifying some few little wins, which is the democracy of the people. They've exercised it, is respected. And the homework for 2027 is not very much about regional contest, ethnic interest. It is about taking a message and taking a report card to the people of Kenya. And on the basis of that, it is what Kenyans will decide.
Now you've introduced something, a new word there that's a conversation I want us to get into, zoning. It is what has generated a lot of the debate, especially given the kind of pronouncements made by the former deputy president with regard
and
to
we'll
Nairobi,
be fighting zoning as bread-based.
with regard to Nairobi
Absolutely.
and the context thereof. The United Opposition is currently uncomfortable with some remarks attributed to the deputy president. Bwana Baraza, are you uncomfortable with that kind of sentiments?
Yeah,
especially when it comes to the contest for Nairobi seats.
You see, it's too early to talk about zoning at this stage, and I don't think we should allow zoning as such. The reason being, if you're going to talk about zoning, how are you going to zone it? The reason being, Nairobi is it has several ethnic groups. How are you going to zone it? How are you going to manage it? What we are only going to do is that we as the opposition will sit together and agree who is going to field a candidate in which zone, who is going to, but you see, one person cannot say we are going to do the zoning. It's not possible. Two, another question is, it's premature for us right now to talk about zoning. What we are only doing right now is strengthening our electoral basis. What we are going to, for example,
isn't that what the former deputy president is doing? That he's trying to strengthen his base within Nairobi and saying that yes, Nairobi too, probably his party is better placed than the other parties within the United Opposition.
It's premature because it can be true, but we're also going to come with our own arithmetic. Say, look, us, we have this. Now, what are you going to do? We'll sit down, negotiate, because election is negotiation. When you're building, let me tell you, when you're building coalition, you negotiate. We are going to have a coalition. How do you don't use zoning, it's coalition. When you're going to build to form a coalition, you must agree whom are you going to fill in this area.
Isn't it the same thing that you did for the by-elections? That when it came to the Western contest in Malava and the rest, you said DAPK should be the one to field and not DCP. DCP had a candidate and had to pull out.
Let me tell you something. If you look at the voting in Western Kenya, it shows you where the opposition is, where the Western people are. Apart from what they took from us forcefully in Malava, the entire Western is in opposition. Look at what happened in Kapchai. Look at what happened in Kisa East. Look at what happened in Malava. We know it was taken away from us. So Western has moved away from the government. It's now in the opposition. Now, if that is going to happen, it will also translate to those people living from Western who are living in Nairobi. Where is their heart? You may force us now, but our heart is somewhere else. Where is their heart? Once it does that, if it comes to election, we are going to sit down as a coalition and agree. This is Kalonzo Musyoka, Rigathi Gachagua, Eugene Wamalwa, George Natembeya. Then we agree, where are we strong? Where do we feel we are strong? Where we feel we are strong, we'll negotiate and agree, look, we are going to fill this thing. Even the UDA is going to do the same thing. I get it. Where there are coalitions, we must agree, we don't use zoning. It's a coalition, you agree. Where do you have the strength? If we feel you have the strength here, then we'll allow you to field your candidates. If you have the strength in this area, because we have so many constituencies in Nairobi, each constituency will be looked at it individually. We don't do the zoning, look at it individually. Where do you think we have a strong candidate? For example, Westlands has been inhabited by Luyas. We can look at Westlands and say now, here.
Is that the basis of this kind of...
That's what happens in Kenya, where you have much support. Where you have much support. Look, where we have Luos, we feel a Luo, where we have much support. That's how people vote. Okay. This is the reality. You see, let's not get here and start pretend. There's no way someone can go to Baringo who is not a native of Baringo and be voted.
But Nairobi is a different constituency altogether.
But look, how do they vote? Look, where...
Are you saying that members of one community would not necessarily vote for a candidate from a different
community? The reason being,
Nairobi?
Where one community is the majority, we do that, and then that's why we have a coalition. We ask other people to push him to get to a certain level. And this is what has been happening all around. How, look at the pattern of voting in Nairobi. We look where are you strong. If you are strong in this constituency, then we ask our fellow guys to support us so that we are able to win, because we are after winning. And this is what has been happening all along. Luyas will vote in a certain way, Luos will vote in a certain way, Kalenjins will vote in a certain way, Kikuyus will vote in a certain way. It's something happens. That's why we have coalitions. Why are we going to do coalitions? We have Central Kenya, we get Western, we get whatever, then we come together and agree who is the strongest candidate in this area, we feel that candidate. Who is the strongest, and then the other coalition will always support.
Is that not zoning?
It's not zoning, it's a coalition. What is a coalition?
And that is,
isn't this the problem? Isn't this the problem? Isn't this the thing that has caused so much political upheaval, given the comments that are attributed to the former deputy president? And I'm not saying it's what he said, because he's denied it, but isn't that the problem?
But what is a coalition?
You are making considerations based on communities already and assuming that your numbers are more on a basis that many people are not comfortable with.
Thank you for that. Let me put this very clearly. First of all, let Socio not tell us that they don't believe in zoning. They did exactly that, and the president confirmed that they went, zoned, said coast, ODM is stronger. They left Magarini seat for ODM. They went to the other place in Kakamega, in Kasipul Latha, UDA withdrew. They left for ODM. In Kakamega, because they had killed ANC, now it was easy for UDA to come in. They did zoning. As we are not calling it, we don't have zoning. What we have is a strategic coalition partnership. And let me say this for record. There is nothing wrong in people sitting together. And let me repeat the words. Look at where a party is strong. And that is what giving people sleepless nights. Because we have coalition parties across the country. You look at where the parties, it will do what I call the lead. It will be the lead party. Yeah. The way we did with Mbere. We said this was a DP seat. Well, this is, Justin is one of the principals in the United Opposition, and he came and requested, let my party field the candidate. And we all went there. The same case, we look at what happened in Marava. You almost, Socio almost suffocated my friend here, telling him that we are being divisive by fielding a candidate in Marava. But we came together and said, can you, DAP, take the lead? So please, I want to say on record, we are being written here and there, being pushed to feel guilty. We are not going to feel guilty about that. So let me say what's going to happen. And please, let's not stop criminalizing issues about communities. No, let me repeat it again. And I'm opposed to the use of word ethnicity, but I use the word communities. Political mobilization and organization is based on where people come from. There's nothing wrong with that. And please, Fred, let us not fall into a narrative being parodied by State House here about Ukabila this, tribalism that, this. No, people must come from where they come from.
If we may look at it that way.
Yeah.
In Nairobi, we've had 4 governors now.
Yeah.
None of them has come from the Mount Kenya region. On what basis, therefore, would you feel that a party that predominantly gets its support from Mount Kenya region would be the best party to field a candidate for governor?
You see now, Fred, that's where we get wrong. The fact that somebody from this area of the country has never become governor in Nairobi doesn't mean they cannot become. That doesn't mean they cannot become, because there's nowhere it is written that only people from these communities can become governors in Nairobi. What we are saying, and for clarity purposes, DCP, just like DAPK, just like OIPA, has a responsibility. Every party is created to form government and to get power. How do you get power? Fielding candidates. And that's why we said yesterday, my party leader said, and by the way, it is true, the same with OIPA and DAPK. Every party begins with DCP. We are going to field every candidate from the presidential. We are going to have Rigathi Gachagua as a presidential candidate. We are going to have governors, senators in every other place in Kenya. That's number one. Let's start from there. Then we'll come and say, because the same will apply to WIPA, DAPK will do the same, PLP, and all these other parties that are friendly to us. Then we'll come down and say, Rigathi Gachagua never said that, now please, Fred, let us be very careful. He never said, even on Sunday, that a particular community must be governor, senator, women. He said on DCP. Because the work of Rigathi Gachagua is to promote DCP.
Perhaps the problem is that he quoted WIPA, yet there are more parties, including DAPK, which have a stake in the process as well.
Good, and that's why
it's only DCP and WIPA that already have a deal on how to approach the Nairobi
This is what he says. The spirit of what my party leader said is this. he gave an example of Wiper, for example, because Wiper previously have the ones who have been doing a coalition around Nairobi, and because of the two communities, then their numbers, they have been able to work a coalition through about getting these positions of governor, senator, and women rep. And he said very well, after Kalonzo Musyoka rallying together his community in Nairobi to support other people, he has just been given one position. And we are saying it has been unfair. So what are we saying here? The fact that he gave Wiper as an example, Fred, doesn't mean that we have other parties. It is a whole 1.5 years to elections. So let me clarify here. So what is going to happen? First of all, number one clarification, he said about DCP. And it's true, because the men who became MCA in Narok is not from one community of Mount Kenya. It is the people there who said, we are going to give you our ticket. Kisa East is not from Mount Kenya. So let us know, this is a narrative that is peddled, created by NIS to come and cause confusion in this country about tribalism. But let me repeat let me end by saying this, Fred. People have been telling the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, no, you are talking too much. I am addressing people, especially from the mountain and this country. Don't fall to the trap of telling Rigathi Gachagua not to speak. He is meant to speak daily for breakfast, for lunch, and evening. He is a master of political science. He is a student of literature. He is the one who saw President Uhuru Kenyatta to become president. He helped President Ruto to become president. And I can tell you, Rigathi Gachagua has the capacity to either become president or drive the next president of this country. So please, I want to tell our people, wherever they are in this country, Western, Nyanza, people who listen to the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua will continue speaking because he must every day try to disabuse the narratives created by this regime. The president is a master of narratives. I want to remind you very quickly, and I want to end up with that. Let's start political. He branded Raila Odinga, Amuchawi, Mutia Kongwareri, Lord of Poverty from 2013. And by the way, many people hated, or rather, they had issues with Raila because, not for anything they know, because of the narrative that the President Ruto had been creating. Now, all the way until it changed tune. Right now, the president has no narrative. He's trying to look, how do I handle the narrative of Kasongo and one term? Listen, on the issue of development, he started with 4 agendas, some 5 agendas during Jubilee. They came to 5. Now he has abandoned them. He's creating another agenda of Singapore and First World. He's a master of narratives. Now, Rigathi Gachagua knows that. He must disabuse those narratives daily. Every day for morning, breakfast, and supper. Because if you don't do that, narratives stick. So we must disabuse this issue of tribalism. He must disabuse these issues of where the president wants to capture to hold this country together. I want to make it very clear. We are going to field candidates everywhere. Then other parties will field candidates. Then we'll sit down together and say, how do you go about it? What's wrong
with the zoning? Because I'm sure even in the coalition that you support, those are considerations that are made, and they are fact politically.
Yes. I think first, allow me the right to really rebut what my colleagues are talking about here.
No. Instead of rebut, can you answer the?
Let him continue.
Your work is to.
I will give.
No, are you debating?
We are running out of time.
And I know we are running out of time. But Dr. Mbai, when you talk about Rigathi Gachagua will do all these, don't stop, don't do all that, nobody's going to be stopped from talking politics. You are free, there's that freedom.
Good.
But
let's talk politics.
But the fact of the matter is, matters of 2027 is not about ethnic zoning. Let us cease from zoning this country.
Who talked about
and it's up to you. And that's your own game. From broad-based framework, we've come through the by-elections. And it wasn't about seriously zoning, but it was about the broad-based parties. Did you hear any conflict about who goes to Nguja, about who goes to Kasibul, Kapondo, about who contests in Mombasa?
Isn't that exactly what you're talking about? Isn't that zoning?
There wasn't.
That is zoning.
There wasn't, and it is how it was all through.
Zoning.
And how ODM was placed and how UDA was placed. Did you hear a lot of conflicts like we used to see here, where Wanyama and Mbai were even fighting in this particular show?
No.
In this particular show, and you can see them, they're insisting on that. The people of Mount Kenya, you should do this. The people of this place. No. Broad-based, we are talking about Kenya. And we will field candidates in all constituencies, in all wards as broad-based. And I've said, take this to the bank. There will be a coalition going into 2027 founded on the broad-based philosophy and with an agenda and with a message to Kenyans on what to do and how to do. And by the way, the narrative is not changing. If I have to inform the professor of political science in the room, the 5 pillars are being escalated to a vision of the country. We are operating on Vision 2030, which expires in 5 years.
I don't want us to get into that now.
Focusing on a vision for the country founded on the 5 pillars and driven by massive infrastructure work and meant to reduce poverty and uplift everybody in the country without exclusion.
Okay.
Let's run politics and governance that is devoid of exclusion, devoid of zoning. When you zone regions, it means you are working on exclusion.
I think you're
that is
zoning,
not right.
it's only that probably some are doing it better than others and it's more amicable.
Let me just, for example, let me give you a good example. During 2022 election, there was an agreement which was made by UDA, Ford Kenya, ANC. And they had said, look, Western Kenya is going to get 30% of whatever. So what is it? It's about Western Kenya. It's a zone. They are giving Western Kenya certain things. So you should know, you cannot say that he's running away from zoning. Zoning is there. 2, even if they're going to agree with ODM, they're going to do zoning. They'll say UDA will not field candidates in Nyanza.
No, talk about yours. Yeah. Talk about your
but
coalition.
But you've been talking about us.
Let us talk about our coalition.
Yeah. You've been talking about us.
It is about reality.
What I'm saying, this is the reality. Let's not use the word zoning. It's a coalition. 2, what I want to put across is that whenever Rigathi Gachagua talks, he talks on behalf of DCP. As we are independent, Kalonzo is independent. So don't take any position taken by Rigathi Gachagua to be a coalition independent decision. It's not. It's DCP. But at one time, we are also going to sit together. We form a coalition. We do an agreement. Then from there, it will be a collective decision. But right now, each party is strengthening its own strongholds. After we've done that, then we'll come together and sit here and say, look, this is what is going to happen. And 2, Rigathi Gachagua is a human being. He can make any comment. Why is it that whatever, even the president makes comments, why is it when he makes a certain comment, people want to take it out of context? You make comments every day.
It's not taking out of context.
No, that's what is happening.
It is done with a
so let's give him a benefit of doubt. He's a Kenyan and he's entitled to his
clear language,
to his comments, like any other person. He's not. You see, whatever decision he makes is not a government position. He's not a government official. So why do you want to blow it out of proportion? That look, he has done ABC. These are normal things. When you're talking to supporters, you can say anything. Are you getting that? It's a normal thing. And if we had to follow all these leaders to where they talk and quote each and everything, it will be the same thing. So let's not try to vilify Rigathi Gachagua because he has said ABC. It's a normal thing for a common person to talk.
Okay.
Yeah. 2, I'm asking my fellow Kenyans, let's learn from what happened in Mbere. Let's learn from what happened in Malava. Let's learn from what happened in Kabuchai if we want to save this country. If we don't learn any lesson from those by-elections, this country will burn.
All right.
One is that true, the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is a party leader for DCP. He will talk about DCP every time. He has a right to talk how he wants to talk about DCP because he's a party leader and he's a presidential candidate who we are going to endorse next year. Number 2, Fred, like I said, we are going to field candidates on DCP in Nairobi, and if that candidate happens to be a member of the Mount Kenya community, so be it. They are also Kenyans. Number 3, I want to say this. The biggest fear this government has is that they are fighting a movement, no one individual. That's why we are not in a hurry to unveil our presidential candidate. They are fighting some movement called one term, which you cannot pin to. That's why they are not sure who to fight. But finally, allow me to say this for only 30 seconds. Because I'm an expert in delivery. I get very passionate about delivery. Look, Fred, if you want to come and say that you had a vision last week about where Kenya needs to go, please first of all come and tell us what you have done for 4 years. Right? Come and tell us where are we with the 5 pillars. Properly. Come and tell us what happened to Hustler Fund, what happens to health system broken down, education system, the issue of agriculture, guaranteed minimum returns. Come and tell us why people are crying about housing fund. And remember, the last study instruction of BAMBA was that these markets and houses is a work of county government. Mm-hmm. That is the last study instruction of BAMBA. But we are taxing people by force. Going all over the place saying we are doing markets and all that, which is not part of what the president should do. But finally, let us not misuse the word Singapore. I feel pain as a person who is on delivery, a person who has been doing delivery. Fred, the civil service in this country, they have presented on paper the best things that can turn this country around. They advise presidents across the world, by the way. Civil servants, people who are from Kenya here. But in Kenya, they come and tell you, this is what we need to do. We had 217 just simple programs, Fred, that was supposed to be implemented in Kenya. Now, come and tell us where we are with the 217. Before you come and tell us you have gotten some revelation about Singapore and Malaysia, I can tell you, do you know what it is, Fred, quickly? That is another narrative the president has created because he is not able to deliver what he promised Kenyans in 2022. Now he wants Kenya to be told another world we are going of household and Singapore. Please ignore that talk because it's not good to go anywhere. Right. For Singapore, it's about meritocracy. It's about being pragmatic. It's about being honest. We don't have all that in Kenya.
Thank you, Dr. Mbaye. 2 minutes only for your final comments.
Now, I think the fact of the matter is that then heading towards 2027, the agenda for the country is set within the broad-based arrangement. Nothing is going to change other than the 5 pillars of seriously delivering universal healthcare coverage, which has won actually global admiration as a country. That it's palpable, it's beginning to work, delivering on housing, delivering on ICT infrastructure, MSME strengthening, because that is a building block of a strong economy. Now that the macroeconomic aspects have fallen in place, strengthening agriculture and the broader framework of infrastructure. And the vision for the country is a vision for the country, and it is not something to debate on whether to do it or not. It is a must deliver. Okay. And that is a vision that the future presidents will work on. And it is about, reducing poverty and getting everybody out of the circle of poverty. Is that not a good ambition? I think our colleagues on the other side, they're just busy trying to bring down the pillars, as if the pillars are personal, as if the pillars are individual to President William Ruto or anybody else. No, they are for the country, just like Vision 2030 is still here with us, yes. And it was conceived by Kibaki. Kibaki is no longer with us, but the vision is helping the citizens of this country, and that's how we should look at it. So Kenya will change, and yes. I believe from the social world and from the knowledge and infrastructure of trade union that Kenya will truly live to the first world.
Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, a veteran educationist, unionist, and a former member of the National Assembly. Asante sana. Zakaria Baraza, political commentator, and Dr. Peter Mbaye, who is the Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs at the DCP. That's a party headed by Rigathi Gachagua, the former Deputy President. Thank you so much for your time at T47. The headlines, very interesting. We are returning to politics somewhat after a lull. The last few days we were struggling for political headlines, but it would appear this one was just waiting for you, gentlemen. How opposition lost Malava and Mbeere North. And at least you've done justice on that. That's a Daily Nation. I will not work for you, Rigiji tells opposition. That's the front page of the Star. The Standard, interestingly, is still clear of politics. Since the by-elections, talking about matter security now, Mbijiwe Dodora Live. And that's the story there. State of the Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, once again, 22 days to Christmas. We are definitely into the festive season, and I have goodies for you. Remember when you started the show, I told you about the Fun Out Kids Fiesta that's happening at Fun City this weekend. It's happening at the Fun City grounds on 6th December, which is this Saturday. It is the biggest kids fiesta of the season, where families, kids and teens, as well as schools, will get ready and opportunities for play, exploration, and making memories at Fun City Gardens. The entry is free. Meanwhile, vendor spaces are available for those who are willing to be vendors. To book your spot today, simply call or WhatsApp this number 0722-238-988 to secure your slot. As a vendor, call the number 0722-238-988 to secure your slots. Now, I have vouchers to give to give to our viewers, which you can redeem for food or kid fun activities at the Fun Fiesta. Simply answer this question through our social media pages. Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Once again, who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Share your feedback on our social media pages there on your screens. TV47 Kenya on Facebook, TV47 Kenya on YouTube as well. You can WhatsApp the number 0793-267-279. Once again, the WhatsApp number where you can send your answer is 0793-267-279. And as you give us your answer, remember to tag the people who you would want to accompany you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta. And also tell us where you're texting from so that we will be able to get the vouchers to you. Thank you so much for your time this morning. That has been State of the Nation. My name is Fred Ndimuli. Good morning.